Good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning into Network Live TV. We're going to talk today about how to increase your networking efforts locally, nationally, or even internationally, as well as discuss things that will help you up your game online while we are introducing you to interesting, exciting, and fun people all over the globe. So I am your host, Sabrina Watson, founder of NetworkLiveVirtually.com, where you can grow your business through creating live virtual relationships all around the world. Meetings and membership are totally free, so don't miss your chance to come network with us and build relationships with amazing people. I just want to make sure that our audience knows we are always looking for people who are absolutely serious about building their brand and their businesses while establishing their authority and creating a larger circle of influence to come be hosts with us. We're looking for people with three main qualities. They're a team player, they're self-motivated, and they're dependable. So if you feel like you have these qualities, please reach out to me and let's talk about the benefits of being a host with NetworkLiveVirtually.com. We do have 4 networking meetings a week currently. We have a new one coming on Friday very soon. We're getting her set up. And of course, I want to introduce you to my co-host, Lynn Schussler-Willimas today. She is the Indie Sales Coach. She's a nationally recognized speaker, certified coach, networking and sales expert, and author of 9 Little Words to Change Your Results. Lynn teaches a thinking technology that changes perspectives and increases results. She works with business owners, solopreneurs, independent salespeople, and groups. She helps teach her clients how to build their dreams, accelerate their results, and create richer, more fulfilling lives. Lynn loves helping her clients learn that they need never sound salesy, and that a success mindset begins with knowing that selling equals serving. Good morning, ladies.
I never get sick of hearing you say all that. That's amazing.
I think Lynn just shows up on Monday so she can hear me talk about her.
It's true. It's worth it every minute. Absolutely.
I want to introduce you to Miss Heidi. She is very interesting, Lynn. She is a columnist for the online newspaper, the Boca Raton Tribune. Her column, Sex, Lust, and Love, is based on her upcoming book about her conversations with men and their experiences with women and relationships. She's conducted in-depth interviews with hundreds of married, single, and divorced men of all ages. Heidi has discovered that men aren't quite so simple after all. Men have the same anxieties about dating and relationships as women. Men worry about their roles as lovers, husbands, and fathers. Men, it turns out, have an awful lot to say about the stuff that women think they already know. Isn't this going to be fun? Heidi was born outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and discovered her love of writing while in upstate New York. She has a degree in psychology and has published several short stories and holds a master's degree from Syracuse University. She's based out of Philadelphia, PA, and Boca Raton, Florida. Good morning, Heidi, and welcome.
Good morning. I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Let's see. I think it's Halid. I cannot pronounce your name. We're not really ready to let some people join us yet, so hang out. And while you're hanging out, you might want to go complete your profile because we'd like to see completed profiles if you're going to join us on our lab. So Heidi, I don't even know where to start, right? Because this is just going to be like such a fun topic. So where do we start? Tell us a little bit about you and how you got started being a columnist. And wow, I'm sure then Lynn's going to have lots of questions after that.
It's a funny story. I will say up front that there is a lot of sex talk that relates to this. So just for the viewers, listeners, this is a caveat that will be mentioned a few times. So I started, this probably goes back about 2 years now, and I knew that I wanted to write a book about something, but having to do with relationships, but I wasn't quite sure which angle or how I was going to do that. And so I decided that I wanted to take some time off from my previous career. And it kind of, once I did that and I stepped away for a little bit, I planned this for a few years to do this break. And everything kind of fell into place. And I just started, I realized I was looking into all this, and I kept finding so many books about women and all their needs. And there's a lot about us. There's a lot written about us. And there was not much written about men. So I decided, well, maybe I should talk to men, to find out their perspective and to get their understanding. And I set out to maybe interview like 25 guys, and I was just going to write this small ebook, and it started turning in very quickly to this massive project that took me about a little over a year to interview everybody. And the questions, I had initially about 15 questions, and then it turned into 55 questions. And the interviews went from like 20 minutes to about 3 hours. So,
wow.
And I did them all in person. And so it took me quite a while, and I wanted to get a really wide range. I wanted men in many different decades, and then married men, divorced men, single men, so that it was a wide range of opinions. So I ended up, the range is 21 to 79, married, single, divorced, widowed. And I started out hanging flyers. Originally, I started up here in Philadelphia, and I hung flyers in coffee shops, and that took off. And then each person I interviewed, I found that these guys, they really want to talk. They just, not to sound against.
They don't have anybody to talk to.
Well, they don't have anybody to talk to. And I do it. I can't speak for you two, but, we cut men off a lot. We don't really give them a chance to talk too much. And especially the longer you know them, you think you know what they're going to say. You're going to finish their sentences for them. And so a lot of them just kind of go, okay, well, I'll just, never mind then, so I found that they really did want to share how they felt, but they're afraid of being, judged or criticized about what they share. So it was really interesting along the way. But so what happened was I interviewed probably about 60 or so people around here. And then I ended up going down to Boca Raton for about 2 months. And I stayed with I have a family member down there that I go down quite a bit. And I tried to hang flyers in Boca Raton, but you can't hang flyers in coffee shops. In Philadelphia, you can do whatever you want, and pretty much anywhere. And so I went into the newspaper to put an ad in the paper, actually. And wow. Next thing you know, I'm talking to the owner of the paper. They were fabulous. I mean, and he said, I love this idea. He said, people constantly, pitch things about women, but there's not much written about men. So he said, I want you to write a column based on the book. So that's actually how the column started.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting story, because I went in there in, flip-flops, and it was like 90 degrees and a t-shirt, and it was, I was just running around trying to hang flyers, and I ended up, with this column. So that was a really great, I think, catalyst for all the, the social media following, and then building up this interest really helped a lot. I really am appreciative of them believing in the idea and giving me that opportunity. So that started, and it was meant to be the interview questions. So to take one of the questions, like per column, basically, or something, closely related to that, and then to show the men's answers and their opinions. So that's how the column started. And what happened was as I would interview these men, we would finish the interview, and almost every single one of them would say, this is so helpful. I feel like this is the best therapy I've ever had. I'm like, this isn't therapy, but, and so then they would say, well, you've got to interview my brother or my best friend or this other guy, or I know this guy I work with. And so it really took off by word of mouth. And now I've stopped interviewing, because it was very time intensive. And, but it was great. It was a great experience. And I hand wrote all the answers. So I have stacks of interviews.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
So I tried recording, but that's a whole nother. It just, I wanted to meet them in a public space in like a coffee shop, and the recording just you couldn't hear it that well. So I wrote all the answers. And so that's how it started, the actual process. And then it just got to be where I needed to start writing the book, and I had to stop interviewing. So that's, although I think I will probably do some more interviews, but I took a few months off from interviewing just to focus on finishing the book. So that's what the book itself is about, the men's opinions from their perspective. So there will actually be full interviews in the book so you can see exactly what they said, their answers to the questions. The questions, by the way, came from, first I asked about probably somewhere around 80 or so women, different ages, just one question. What would you love to know or understand about men? And so
really,
that question, I then took all their questions. I added some of my own, which were like the original 15 or so, and that became the interview questions. So that's where they came from. There were a few that I added in along the way that some of the guys suggested, some really good questions. We would interview and then we'd kind of talk at the end and they'd say, well, why don't you ever you should ask men about this or that. So I did early on add in some questions from the guys too, that they thought would be interesting to share, for women to see their, perspective. So that's an awful lot. I don't know if you wanted that much information right away.
That's great.
So,
great. So I have a question. Go ahead, I'm dying to know if you found differences in the men's attitudes about women based on their age group. Like, do the younger men think of women differently than the older men think of women? In general, just kind of an attitude about women. Was there a generational difference?
Yeah, there's definitely, you could probably easily see the responses from the younger guys versus men, 40s, 50s. And the interesting thing is the younger guys are more focused on getting their career established, and it's kind of something in the future that they want to find a woman later once they've established themselves. But there is a difference. There's a deeper understanding when you read the men's answers who are a little bit older and have more experience. There's a better understanding of women versus the younger guys. There were a couple, though, younger men who were surprisingly had really just fantastic insight into women. And it's an interesting thing I noticed too, just to kind of, it's a side note on this, but some of the younger guys, there was a theme where they feel more comfortable expressing their emotions. Guys in their 20s up to around early 30s, they didn't have that men don't cry, men in like our generation growing up, they're supposed to be tough, they're supposed to be strong, but these younger guys, I guess millennials you'd call them, they're much more comfortable expressing their feelings. So that was interesting to see how they don't have that stigma of, oh, I'm not supposed to really show how I really feel. I
can't have feelings.
I can. Right. I'm allowed. It's okay. So,
right.
But yeah, there was a lot of differences between the age groups.
Yeah.
So tell us about the column, Heidi. How long has the column been going on?
The column has been going on for just over a year. So.
And do you have a link that you can share with our audience as to where they can find that column?
I do. Yeah. Let me.
I'll let you find it for a minute. While she's looking for that, Miss Lynn, what's going on in your world? So we're so involved in hearing Heidi's sex, loves, tales, and lies.
No, I can't compete with this. Okay, no, not in a billion years. All right, but it is. I am a sales coach, the indie sales coach, and so it's the Monday of the last week of the month. So that's always a big time. Helping clients kind of figure out where the momentum is coming from for next month and what's happening before the end of the month and how they want to, treat this week. Oh, we lost Heidi.
Yep,
she'll be back.
Yeah, she'll be back. Sorry. Heidi, Blab can be a little glitchy at times. You may have to back out, refresh your browser, and come back in. It's a Blab thing. It's not a you thing, just so you know that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Miss Lynn. So the last week of the month, are people, what are they, or should they be focusing on when they need to accomplish things?
Well, that's an interesting question, Sabrina, because on my blab this morning, we were talking about a Monday action mindset. And we were talking about this idea of the last week of the month and momentum for next month and all of that. And somebody who hopped into the seat, Teddy Burris, said that he really believes that if you are looking at the last week of the month differently than every other week of the month, that there's an inherent problem in that. And I agree with that. We have to have a plan of consistency and duplication and action that we can take all month long so that it doesn't trip us up or matter so much. So that's all true. And the reality is many, many people get to the Monday of the last week of the month and go, oh, hell, it's the last week of the month and I have this much more left to do. And, that sort of thing. So we deal with it a lot. It's an interesting phenomenon.
So I'm going to ask Heidi about that because it's the last weekend of the month. How do you plan, Heidi, to get this book out? What are your steps? Do you set goals?
Well, yes, that's an interesting conversation. The goal setting is an interesting conversation, but I've worked with somebody this past year for social media who's been fantastic, and he's over in the UK, and so he has right now I'm finishing the final edits, and then once we're ready to go, then he's going to help me with the promotion end of things. And then I also have somebody possibly that I'm speaking with now for in the US to also do some marketing and things like that for the book once the book's ready. I'm probably going to self-publish because it's an interesting, the publishing, from what I understand, traditional publishing, it's not the fastest process. So my understanding is it's about 18 to 24 months from the time you sign with an agent. Like today, if I sign with an agent, it's at least 2 years before my book is out.
Ooh, yeah, that's ugly.
Traditional publishing, right? So, which would be fantastic, but you kind of get excited, and your book is done, and you're in the final edits, and you want to get it out there. So, at this point, I'm almost sure, 100% sure that I'll probably self-publish.
So are you in the final stages of the book? Are you doing the finishing touches on editing? Where are you at, Heidi, on the book?
Yeah, so the book is written. We're just going back now. I hired an editor in early December, late November, early December. He's fantastic. And so we're just going through and finishing up all the final edits. And at this point now, I'm in the process of hiring, cover design, formatting, and then.
So I have some contacts for you, Heidi, if you'd like. I have a book, and so I have people that I've used and that sort of thing. So if you need any of that, just reach out to me after. Yeah.
Oh, great. Thank you. Yeah.
Lynn is currently a published author. The 9 Little Words to Change Your Results.
Congratulations.
About sales. Tell Heidi about our 9 little words, and then we're going to have her see if she's got 9 sexy words.
Yeah. So the 9 little words to change your results are 3 short phrases that help us interrupt our old patterns of thinking that might be holding us back and set sail for new action, and then commit. So the 9 little words are: up until now, I am willing, no matter what.
Oh, I love it.
Thanks.
Fantastic.
Thanks.
Oh, that's great.
I'm going to close this seat out right here, or open the seat up, I should say, because Ann Hagen says she used Fast Pencil to publish her book. Have you looked at any products or services yet, Heidi? Maybe Ann will come in here and tell us a little bit about that.
That would be great. I have just looked into CreateSpace so far.
Okay, and I'm not familiar with CreateSpace at all.
That's part of Amazon.
Amazon, right? Yeah. Okay.
So the person that I use, did my interior layout, my cover design, and now he's set up as a self-publisher, so he can help you navigate all that sort of stuff. Do that Create Space, or another one we actually went with Ingram's.
Oh,
because
okay.
through Ingram you can get it in bookstores and stuff. So, and his is called Enlighten Books, and he has a focus on personal development or personal growth ideas, which your stuff would fit right in with the Enlighten Books idea too.
And that's the interesting thing about this topic, because, and I forgot to mention this earlier, about a third of the questions are centered around what men have learned from their relationships, from their marriages, from their divorce, and then a third are, what do men think about? What do they worry about? What are their concerns? And then there's also a third, the last third, is there's a lot of sex questions, because that's what women, wanted to know. They asked quite a few sex questions. So the interesting thing about it is it does, while it definitely falls in, I would say, personal growth, but there are some rather interesting sexual questions that might bump it out of that category pretty quickly. So that's right. A little bit of a twist on it. I guess a challenge. I don't like to use that word, but it's slightly challenging. It is. So
yeah.
So let's talk about the first two items that you mentioned. There were three items that you mentioned there that were your three major areas. Let's talk about the first two for a minute. Can you tell us a little bit of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the thing that I would say, as far as what they've learned, they start and this kind of combines actually the second part too, is what they worry about and what they think about. But a lot of so many of them said to me, we learn how to interact on the playground. When we're little, when a boy's on the playground and he gets in a fight or he cries, he's made fun of. If he shows his emotions, he's made fun of. He's beat up, and they actually take that and they grow up and they learn from that. Well, I guess we're just supposed to be strong. We're not supposed to cry. We're not supposed to really share how we feel. If they tell a girl they like her on the playground, they get made fun of. So as they grow up, and this isn't all men, of course, there's a lot of men who, figured, work through it. But there's a big portion of men who then grow up and they don't really know how to share how they feel. And so what a lot of them end up doing is they just don't actually share it. And what they do is they try to share, and they share in the way that they think that they know how to. And oftentimes it's not received well by women, because women are perceiving completely different what he's saying. And so they quickly learn, I better not say that, or I better not really share that. And so they tend to just not share. And, there's a quote that in one of the chapters, and this gentleman's been married for 19 years. He had 2 or 3 kids. And he said, we create conflict or we don't speak. It's one or the other, and now there's extremes in all this, of course, but a lot of the men, shared that they've tried to express how they feel, but then they're either judged for it, they're criticized, or a lot of guys said this, I have to hear about it later, and she misunderstands what I'm saying, and then it's turned around against me, and so we just stop, we just don't say anything, so I think that one of the biggest things is that came through that I was really surprised about is how lonely a lot of men really are. And if you think about it from women's perspective, we have support systems. We're fine. If we're upset or we're depressed or we're lonely, for the most part, women are comfortable, gathering around other women. They find support, right. Find groups. Men don't have that, and they don't have that support system. And a lot of times, and the other thing is they don't have a lot of male friends where they can say, look, I'm really struggling. I'm having a hard time. I'm really depressed, or I'm lonely. And so if they don't have male friends like that, and if they're married, they probably don't have a lot of close female friends that much anymore. And if they're not speaking to their spouse, they're lonely. I was really surprised how many men really feel isolated and lonely. And when you ask them, well, who do you talk to? Nobody. Who are we supposed to talk to? So it's an interesting, I think for them, for the most part, men are just trying to make women happy. They just want to make the woman that they love happy. They really, truly want to do that. And they try in different ways. And it's so, it's very endearing to hear them tell stories about, I tried to do this, and she got upset. I guess that's not the way to make her, so they try these things and they really, truly just want to make women happy. And so they kind of, I think for them, they learn that in order for their happiness, so much of it is based upon the woman's happiness from their perspective, but the downside of that is that they oftentimes feel very lonely and isolated. So that's kind of in a long-winded answer, but and I construction right outside my door. So
I have one question for Heidi, and then I want Ann to introduce herself and contribute to the conversation. But my question to you is, Heidi, I was told once by a man that there is no such thing as a relationship between a man and a woman that can remain platonic. What do you think? True or not true?
There was a question in the interview about, one of the questions was, do you think it's possible to fall in love with a close female friend with whom you've never dated and you were not originally attracted to her necessarily? And probably about 90% of the guys said absolutely. If very few men that I spoke to would not, frankly, sleep with a woman if they gave him the opportunity, if they were friends. However, I would say if the woman has become a really, really close female friend, kind of like a sister, they won't jeopardize the friendship. They don't want.
Oh, that's interesting. I have heard men say that before too.
Yeah.
My husband said that.
If it's like a woman, a good friend, but not years of friendship and not, then, and they're friends with their, but they know they're not going to, they probably aren't going, you know what I mean? They wouldn't in a lot of situations, of course, but if given the opportunity and he was single and she was single and she said, sure, but there definitely are a lot of men who, if it's a really close female friend, they don't want to lose the friendship. So.
And actually, I was going to say that actually happened to me with my husband because we were very good friends. In fact, we were best friends for a long time. We were both running around just doing stuff together all the time. And when the time came that things felt like they were moving forward, he said he was so afraid of it because he was afraid that there was going to be this fabulous friendship just destroyed.
Right.
Well, we're still best friends and we ended up, getting married. However,
that's a great story.
One never knows what direction that could have gone. Yeah, for sure. You girls would appreciate the story, but it's a story for another time, for sure.
No risk, no glory, though, right?
Well, there was some risk involved there, for sure. So, Ann, good morning. Say hello to the ladies. Tell us who you are and what you do.
Hi. Actually, I'm really looking forward to reading Heidi's book.
Yes.
Because I'm a matchmaker and a dating advisor from Norway.
Oh, wonderful.
So I spend almost all my time talking with men about feelings, relationship, what they are looking for in the perfect match and all these things and in all ages. So
that's great.
It's going to be really useful for me at work also, to see what you have figured out and all those things.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. I'm sure there's a lot of interesting things as well.
And I agree with everything that you said. It's the same thing I hear from Norwegian men also. So it's, it's in their genes, I think,
No, they're no different than us. They have all the insecurities and the fears and the worries, but they just say, oh, okay, well, I'm just going to, they don't express it as much. But
no, they don't.
Just because we got Ann sitting here, I have to ask this question. Heidi, did you ever have the conversation with any of these men about other nationality women? Do men find, so like Ann's in Denmark, right?
Norway.
So do men from Norway find Canadian women more sexy? Or Heidi, do American men find UK women more sexy? I mean, I'm just curious about that.
Yeah.
I think that it's more about the personality and what they personally like. It's about the expressions that they want from a woman. Like a lot of Norwegian men would like a foreign woman because she's not as maybe. I'm not gonna say anything because it's gonna sound so terrible because I'm Norwegian myself. But a lot of Norwegian women are really difficult to be in a relationship with. They have a lot of demands because we don't need a man anymore. We have a great life without, and that means that we have these demands to a man that Norwegian men are like, I cannot do that. That is too much for me. So they want this more easy relationship.
Right.
And there are other men that are attracted to drama because they need something more. They're a little bit bored about their, easygoing life. They don't have economical problems. They have a dream job. They have everything. They need some passion in their lives, So I think, that sums it up.
Yeah, it's definitely. I didn't break down the different. I interviewed men from different cultures and parts of the world, but I didn't break down where the woman was from. But I will say this: that to a man, I'm not a man, but based upon all the conversations, they don't care where she's from, as long as she's comfortable in her own skin, and that's probably the biggest thing that they find attractive. About women, if she's in her own skin, right, and she's not insecure about every little thing that and if she's fun, lighthearted, comfortable in her own skin, that's what they find to be the sexiest thing about women in general.
I agree totally, and that is what I tell everyone that is searching for love and cannot find the perfect one in the guy. They don't feel like they're attracted enough, but it's all about how they are with themselves. We have this matchmaking company and we have core confidence in the bottom. That's the main thing. They're called congruent because you have to be true about yourself. Yeah. You can have insecurities. You can have things that you don't think is perfect with you, but you should tell about it and know about it and want to do something about it, and you usually see it when women are single for a long time and looking for someone, and then they found someone, and then they get all this attention from other men,
right? And
it's not because they are in a relationship. It's because they don't look desperate anymore. They are comfortable in their own skin. So.
Oh, okay.
Definitely, yeah.
And that was my experience. It's been a couple of decades, but I was married and then I was single, and it was the very week I said to myself, if I never have another relationship, it'll be fine. I'm going to have an interesting life. I've got lots of great friends. I'm going to do great things. This is, it's just fine. And my husband showed up, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. That doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, because it's, men can, so many there was a question about why you go on a date and then you don't call the woman again. You go on one date and then you never, and I think it's probably happened to almost every woman, at least maybe once. And they said that they can feel like the woman is interviewing them going, okay, how much money does he make? Does he want to have children? Is he going to be a good father? And they can feel that the woman is just searching for, and this is their words, that it feels like she's just searching for a body to give me a baby, and that's it. And they can sense all that. So they can sense, and like you were saying about feeling desperate or feeling that neediness, and that it's a huge turnoff for a lot of men, unless he's ready. If he's out there ready, then but for the most part, it's a big turnoff for a lot of men. So,
and in your matchmaking, do you do it only where you live, or do you do some international stuff as well?
We have one customer that's international, but he's actually looking for someone in Scandinavia because he wants to maybe move here and start a business here. So, but I think that we're gonna go international in a couple of years, like London first, and then we'll see, because a lot of people tell us that we do it really different than other matchmaking companies. And you know, with us, they spend a lot of money, and it's for 12 months. And the first 3 months, they don't get a date. We just use that time to get to know the person. So we go really, really deep on who our customer is, how the customer will be in a relationship, how the customer is on a bad day, what the partner should be like when our customer has a bad day. You know, all these things that matters if you're going to have this relationship that lasts until you die, you know? So it's
wonderful.
different. Yeah.
That sounds great.
So that's not the norm though for matchmaking matchmakers?
Well, I think that they of course they try to see if people match together, if they have the same values, if they like the same things, the things that are on the surface, but they usually put them on dates and see what's going on. You know, for us, it's more, we would like the first date to be the one. You know, we use that much time interviewing candidates and getting to know the people as a couple, you know, and you can find love in both. I think that maybe we use the same time as other matchmaking companies, but you have to go on more dates. You have to figure out more things by yourself. With us, we do most of the work. You know, you don't have to get to know the person when you've been on a date, because you already know so much.
Wow. Yeah. That's interesting. And have you written a book as well?
Yes, I wrote a book now it's 4 years ago, about why you don't succeed in internet dating, about the internet dating world a couple of years ago. It's just a small book, 80 pages. I think I just used a couple of months to do everything. But I used fast pencil to do it. And I think it's great if you want to have a book that you're going to sell yourself, or that will go on all the online stores around the world. Because when you publish it through fast pencil, it automatically go to Amazon and all these, all these ebook companies. So it automatically is sent out to everyone from,
oh, really?
You don't have to, yeah.
Are you familiar with fast pencil at all, Lynn?
No. Is it just for ebooks?
No, you can order it yourself also. Yeah. So my mom just published a book. She lives in Greece, and she makes these walks in Samos where she lives. And she's always dreamed about writing a little bit more about the paths that she makes. So now she's made a book there, and she's just order it and selling it out in the summertime to tourists, so they can walk in the mountains.
So you can do it like a paperback.
Yeah. You can choose the size. You can choose if you want a hard, I don't remember what it says, or paperback or whatever. Yeah, you can choose everything, and you just put in your cover and everything yourself, or you can just have everything in a PDF file and just send it in, and it will make a book also. So.
Oh, okay.
It's worth looking at.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So, Anne, is your book still available?
Well, it's in Norwegian though, so.
Oh, so that doesn't do us any good.
I'm not reading Norwegian.
No, but I'm gonna make a new one that's gonna be in English also, and it's 100 Days from Single to Engaged. My story. So.
Oh, great!
Ooh,
Ooh.
Fun.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So I used my own recipe to find the man of my life. So why not write about it? Yes, I did.
Fantastic! That's great.
Yeah.
Good.
So okay. Here comes the point where I have to ask you, though. I always ask everybody for a tip or a trick. So, Anne, what kind of tips or tricks can you give our listeners, male or female, about how to find their mate?
Be honest. Yeah.
Ooh. So tell him if you're actually just shopping for a support guy, right?
Yes. Be honest. be true about who you are and be honest and take chances, you know, be vulnerable. If you dare to be vulnerable, the right person is going to come along and grab you. Yeah.
Well, thanks, Miss Ann. Thanks for joining us.
You're welcome. It was nice to meet you all. Yeah.
Nice
Good luck
to
with
meet
your
you.
book. I'm going to be the first one to buy it. So
Thank you.
I think there's going to be a lot of people ready to buy Heidi's book.
I think
Yes.
so. Sounds good.
Thank
Okay, bye.
Bye, Ann. So, Heidi, how far are you from that book coming out? Do you know yet? What's the timeline?
My timeline is July. So late June, early July.
So, are you going through rounds of edits right now?
Yes. Yeah.
So, how long does that usually take? Do you have any idea? Or?
Well,
And why is there more than one set of edits? Tell me about that.
oh gosh. So, well, I don't know.
Editing is endless, is what I would tell you about that.
It is, you know, right? This whole, I want to write a book about writing a book because you know, you watch TV and it's so, it's so debilitating, for lack of a better word, when you start out to write your first book and you watch all these people and I know it's TV and I know it's social media and half of it might not be, you know, the full story, but you constantly see these images of, it looks like someone writes a book on a Friday and then Monday or Tuesday they submit it. And then by the next Friday, it's on the shelves at Barnes and Noble. And it's nothing like that whatsoever.
Right.
You know, you write it first, it's horrible. And then you rewrite your horrible version because you're embarrassed to show anybody about 10 times. And then you rewrite that. And then you show it to a couple people and you make it, you know, that's what's interesting about writing is I love it because you can show it to 5 people and you'll get 5 different opinions. But
Wow.
then you get feedback and then you start to change it and you go through this phase where you show it to too many people and then you keep changing it. And then you hire an editor that, you know, maybe you're not quite sure, you know, so you hire somebody and then you work on it and then you show it to maybe 1 or 2 people who, you know, could make a decision about publishing your book. And then you get feedback and then you hire a really expensive, great editor. And then you start over at the very beginning and then you edit from there, you know, so then you have to walk away from it at some point because you're so sick of reading the same chapters over and over again. And at least this has been my experience. So it's very enlightening. You know, it's, you don't realize, you know, I liken it to like, until you run a marathon, you don't know what it's like. Until you get divorced, you don't know what it's like. Getting married, you just don't know until you do it. But I just wish people knew what it was really like, because it's a little unfair because you beat yourself up and you think, what's taking me so long? You know, why isn't this book written in a month or 2? You know, and so it's an interesting process, but I've learned a ton and it's great, and I would do it again. So
Heidi, I'm curious about the column. How do you get the column picked up by more newspapers?
Well, I am writing for Michael Fiore, Digital Romance Inc. is they're online, and then Singles Warehouse Experts. But to be honest, what I've done recently is I've cut back a lot on that because it was taking a lot of time away from finishing the book, the writing of, you know, for me, it takes me a long time to write the columns and to, you know, put them together. And so I was finding that I was just, you know, I was not working on the book, you know, when it was a month or 2, 3 months, and I wasn't really spending much time on the book. And so I've decided over the last few months to cut back on a lot of that and just focus on finishing the book so I could get it completed. And so
are columns a paying gig or not a paying gig?
I'm sorry?
Are columns a paying gig or not a paying gig?
They can be, but from what I understand, if your column gets big enough and then it's, you know, syndicated or something, you know, across different mediums, you can get paid. But a lot of times what they'll do is they will, you know, offer to promote your book or things like that. They'll help you with marketing for writing for them. So that's been, it's, I guess, what you call kind of a barter system. Essentially. It gives them new content and then they can help you with, you know, things that you might not be able to do. So there are some paying jobs that you can do as well. That The interesting thing, though, is everybody wants original content.
Oh, well, yeah.
And that's at least for me. I don't know about anybody else, but it takes a lot of time, to do that.
Well, yeah, and there's hundreds of thousands of people writing stuff.
Right.
I mean,
yeah.
Where does the originality actually begin and end? Is the question then, right?
Right. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of people who can sit down and write a fabulous column in an hour or two, but I'm not there yet. So.
So inside of our circle, Lynn Schussler-Williams, we have is Kat Sturtz. Does she write, or is she? I know there's a number of people inside of our area that have written a lot of books too. So, and Lynn, yours is an updated version of the one that's coming out. It's not a different one, right?
Right. It's my second edition is coming out this week. As a matter of fact, they ship today.
Oh,
a box of 200 books that land at my house Wednesday or Thursday. I think the original delivery date was Thursday, but they weren't supposed to ship till tomorrow. And I just got an email before this that said they had shipped today. So pretty excited about that. And I'm speaking at a conference this weekend where I'll have them in the back of the room for sale. So great timing, and looking forward to a second edition release party or two over the next month or so to kind of, so it's fun. It's really fun. And the reason I said editing is endless, Heidi, is because, so I had this first edition. It came out a little over a year ago. And of course, it was fully edited and all that. And then when what facilitated my second edition was the publisher I had used the first time sold their business. And so, and the name wasn't going to continue to be used. So I had to change the publisher logo, and I had several things I had to change. And so I decided to use that as an opportunity to change a couple of things I wanted to change. Right. Not the least of which was I had a Bill Cosby quote in the book. And I decided, and when I tell you what the Bill Cosby was, you'll think it's even funnier, because the Bill Cosby quote, it was in a chapter on decisions and making powerful decisions. And the quote was, "You have to want it more than you're afraid of it." So I was like, yeah, we got to get that out of there. So I had just a few little things to change. So I said, well, then this is our opportunity to release a second edition, right? Well, it was amazing to me in the process of the new publisher had slightly different layout things. So the whole internal layout had to be redone to shift to the new bleeds, which is, I know more about that than I want to know. And so we found so many things that were not part of the changes that we never found the first time around. It was like, don't you think this comma's in the wrong place? And don't you think this "the" is redundant? And oh my God, it was just like endless editing is what I'm talking about. So at some point you just have to go, I love this and it's done. Yay.
But it is such an interesting process, and you almost have to have a complete stranger read it, because you don't see the commas, and you don't see any of that anymore. You're hearing it in your head, and it's an interesting.
Yeah, a real editor is absolutely essential, no question, no question. And so that's what I would tell you about sites like the one Anne was talking about, the Fast Pencil, where you upload it.
Let me go look. Yeah,
Fast Pencil, where you just upload before you ever get to that point, you're still going to want a professional layout person and a professional editor and all those sorts of things. And what I love about the person I work with now, his name is William Arbaugh. And what I love about William and Enlightened Books is he's a one-stop shop for a professional layout, professional cover design. Now, he's not an editor. Right. I had a separate editor. But you know, it's a good way to do it for sure.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Would you recommend shopping all that individually yourself and then going and say, here's the file, or going to a service like that where they do kind of, you know, everything there?
Yeah, that's a tough call.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah. So William does those three things. He handles the printing and the publishing. He does the interior layout and the cover design layout, and he deals with the printer on those. But the only thing that was extra separate from him was editing.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense to me, because I feel like the editor you need way earlier than you need all that.
Exactly right. And it's a different thing, right? A person who's a great layout person, who's a great designer, and who's willing to do all the detail work with the publisher, with the printer, is a different skill set than the editor.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Hillary, I don't know if Hillary can pop in or not, but I just wanted to be able to introduce you, Heidi, to Hillary. So if she doesn't have time to get in here before we are done, you might want to click on Hillary up above there in the top left and follow her. She is the editor of Kent Women in Business and the Live Streamer magazine.
Okay.
So I just think she would
Hillary, good to see you.
Good connection for you. Do you think Hillary would be a good connection for Heidi?
Definitely.
Yeah, so Hillary would be a good connection for Heidi. I just want to remind everybody real quick, too, while we're sitting here on this network, on this blab, before we get out of the way, here is the link for this afternoon's networking group, and that is our host, one of our hosts, Brooke Borup. So anybody watching, Hillary, of course, or Heidi, if you would like to attend a virtual networking event, that's why we bring you this show here. NetworkLiveVirtually.com is where we hold our networking events. They are live with audio and video for up to 50 people in a room, although we never have that many. The most we usually have at this point in time is right about 12 people. So there is a link if you would be interested in joining a virtual networking group and checking it out and seeing what it's about. They are typically entrepreneurs, solopreneurs in business all over the world. We have about 600 registered users of our networking groups in about a dozen countries. So it's a great way to meet people all over the world.
It is. I've made some great connections on Network Live Virtually. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So Heidi, how often are you in Boca? Are you sending them their, oh, here comes Hillary. Let's say hello to Hillary real quick. I just want you to be able to meet her. Good morning, Hillary. What's happening?
God, that went really loud. Hello, ladies. I never come on my phone, and I was like, God, that's loud. How are you all?
We are wonderful. I wanted you to get a chance to meet Heidi because Heidi's in the middle of trying to wrap up her book, and she's going to try to crack the mail code one man at a time. So,
nice.
Yeah, I thought you'd be interested in that just because I know what you do. So I wanted you to meet her. So if you wouldn't mind, take a moment, introduce yourself to Heidi. Tell her who you are, what you do.
Hi. I'm editor of a Women in Business magazine that's a printed one here in the UK. And I'm editor of one we're launching later on this year called The Live Streamer. So it's a cross between lifestyle. We're doing book reviews. We're doing a lot of transcribing from recorded live stream, looking at gadgets, looking at all sorts of aspects of it. But there's a women's series, inspiring women's series, and ladies who live stream. And there's all sorts of exciting plans. So apart from that, I'm either speaking at events or writing myself. So there's a couple of books in the pipeline that have been commissioned almost based on my notoriety now in the UK of being a bit of a live stream queen. So that's me.
Oh, fabulous.
Hey.
That's great.
There you go.
Keeps me out of trouble.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Heidi, if you have got some links you would like to share with people or a website, please feel free. Now's the time to go ahead and blop those right into the chat box. Miss Hillary, you know the drill. Plunk your stuff right in there, your links, so that people can find you and reach out.
I'm not very good on the phone. I'm doing updates on my computer, so I just jumped in because you called me out to come and say hello. So I'm going to go back to being a geek. But Heidi, I think I've just followed you. I'm not used to doing it on the phone, but I will hopefully connect with you soon, and maybe we could. I'll stalk you a bit on Twitter and see what you're up to.
Yeah, Twitter's probably the best place. That's where I spend.
Me too.
Yeah. So.
Me too. Bye, ladies. Have a great
Bye,
day.
Hillary.
Hillary.
Good to see you again.
Bye.
And Miss Lynn, Go ahead.
I'm putting a link in there for me as well.
lsprotection.com.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's my Legal Shield link and that's for folks in the United States and Canada. So that's one piece of my business. So we'll just share that link today.
all right. Lynn, did you get a chance I don't know if you got a chance to introduce yourself. We were talking about all of it.
Well, you
Heidi's
introduced
exciting.
me beautifully, so I felt no need to.
So, Heidi, we got just a couple minutes left. What is the most interesting conversation you had in doing the research for your book? Can you share that for us or with us?
Look,
The
she's almost
single most
blushing.
interesting conversation.
You're going to have to wait for that.
Okay, how about the second most interesting conversation? You only got you have to sum it up in 2 minutes anyway. So,
Well,
you can't give us the whole story.
Well, there was some, oh God, I can't decide which one. I have about 10 in my head right now. Well, there's kind of just a funny one that's there's a couple, but they'll be in the book. So probably one of the sort of funny ones was I did an interview with a person, an acquaintance basically, and he said, I have this great friend, you need to interview him. So I, scheduled the time, we met, we sat down, we talked for, it's about 2.5, 3 hours. And then, so we finished and he said, so now I did a favor for you, but now you have to do a favor for me. And I thought, oh God, where is this going? And he said, you need to attend this event with me Saturday night. And he said it just like that, not like, would you mind going? Or, he said, you need to attend this event with me Saturday night. And it's this work thing. And, it's like a cocktail party or something. And then he said, I thought we could go to the movies first and then we could go to this event and then maybe go have a drink after. And I realized at that point that he kind of he was one of the few that missed the whole concept. And I think he thought I was out,
on the hunt,
the date. This was a date basically of my way to have a date with him. And then I thought, oh my gosh, I just spent 3 hours interviewing this guy. And, you could tell with some of the answers, there was a few men who just gave you answers that they thought you wanted to hear. The majority did not do that, but there was about a handful of guys who just kind of said, they answered the questions in the way that they thought would impress me or other women. And, so he was definitely very nice, but it was a little awkward at the end because I had to say, well, no, I can't go with you. And, this really is an actual interview, and so that was just one of, there's so many other funny stories, but they tend to fall in the sex department. And I think they might be better to read than to talk about.
You'll have to read the book, Sabrina.
I know, and I can't wait to read the book.
Cause just crazy. One guy just left she did. Oh, I can't even. You'll have to wait. It's funny. There's some funny stories.
Well, please keep in touch with me, Heidi. I want to know when the book comes out.
Thank you.
I want to thank my guests today for taking time out of their busy schedules to be with us. Heidi and Lynn both. And I can't wait for Heidi's book to come out. So let's see. Do you have the title of the book?
For mine?
Yeah. What's the title of the book?
Did 100 Men?
100 Men. So it's going to be 100 Men by Heidi. And also, I want to remind everybody that she does have a column, Sex, Lust, and Love, in the online newspaper, the Boca Raton Tribune. And of course, I just want to real quickly remind everyone of my co-host, Lynn Schussler-Willimas, who's the Indie Sales Coach, nationally recognized speaker, certified coach, networking and sales expert, and author of 9 Little Words to Change Your Results. Is the second edition now available on Amazon, Lynn?
I don't know the answer to that yet. I'm waiting to hear when it'll pop up, but it should be within the week. Yeah.
Okay.
Because the hard copies will be in my hand, so I'm waiting to hear the answer to that. I asked it yesterday, so.
Awesome. So I'm going to go stalk Amazon to see if it's there yet. course, I want to remind everybody that we do have a networking meeting this afternoon at 4 p.m. with host Brooke Borup. Hopefully we'll see you guys there, and we will see you tomorrow. My guests are Teresa Cleveland and Renata Mazzucanin. So tomorrow should be interesting. All right, ladies, again, thanks for being here, and thanks to all of our people that have popped in or that will pop in and watch our recording. I'm your host, Sabrina Watson, founder of NetworkLiveVirtually.com, where you can come network with the world. So we will see you tomorrow, and thanks everybody for being here.
Bye.